our host, Amichai Shikli, Minister of Diaspora and Fight Against Antisemitism. Our dear friend and steadfast ally, the former Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, and Mrs. Morrison, Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, and Mrs. Rama, distinguished rabbis, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you today not only as a rabbi and not only as a community leader from Sydney. I stand here as a man who has buried loved ones, as someone whose family and community was struck by terror, and in a place that had always symbolized safety, sunlight, and calm. For us, anti-Semitism is not a theory. It is not a policy debate. It is not a headline. It is an empty seat at the Chabad table. It is a voice that will never be heard again. The attack in Bondi took my beloved son-in-law. It took members of our community, good people who contributed so much to the community, parents of young children, spouses, a 10-year-old child, Jews who lived with dignity and love for humanity. So when we speak today about antisemitism, we have to understand that for us, it is not academic. It is painfully, unavoidably real. Yesterday, His Excellency the Prime Minister and Minister Shikli spoke so eloquently about fighting antisemitism by exposing lies, by lobbying for zero tolerance for antisemitism in Western countries. Allow me to look at a response to antisemitism from a different angle, a different perspective. In the hours after the attack, Sydney was wrapped in shock and grief. And within that fog, a question surfaced. And it's the same question that has followed the Jewish people for thousands of years. What now? The instinct, when hunted, is to hide, lower your profile, blend in, be less visible. Well-meaning voices told us, be careful, don't provoke, stay quiet for a while. But we made a conscious decision. For every Jewish life taken, we would add Jewish life. If they targeted us because we are Jews, then the answer was not less Judaism, the answer is more. More light, more mitzvahs, more presence, more pride. And that decision changed everything. We realized something essential. If Jewish identity is built only on shared trauma, then we hand our children a burden and not a gift. if being Jewish means remembering who hated us, from Pharaoh to Hamas, we must always remember the Holocaust as we do today. We must always remember our history. But that is the only message we give our children. Then Judaism becomes a survival club defined by pain. And no child wants to inherit an identity whose main feature is persecution. Antisemitism must never be what defines us. A positive Jewish identity does. The beauty of Torah, the warmth of community, the meaning of mitzvahs, the privilege of carrying a mission larger than ourselves. And when a child grows up experiencing Judaism as life-giving and joyful, then hatred loses its power and pride becomes our armor. This truth was taught with absolute clarity by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. The Rebbe taught that antisemitism is not provoked by Jewish strength, but by Jewish weakness. And we're not talking about physical weakness, but spiritual uncertainty. When Jews apologize for who they are, the world censors it. When Jews hide, the world chases. But when Jews stand with what we call Geon Yaakov, with confident, unapologetic Jewish dignity, something remarkable happens. Respect replaces contempt. In Sydney, those Jews who would wear kippah did not remove the kippot, and more people put them on. We did not retreat from public space. On the final night of Hanukkah, we returned to the beach with a crowd 20, 30 times larger than ever before. And the wider Australian public did not pity us, they respected us. Because dignity attracts respect and fear attracts disdain. Friends, allow me to say something difficult, but said with love, responsibility, and deep loyalty. Anti-Semitism cannot be defeated with diplomacy alone. Public relations alone will never win this battle. For years, we have tried to justify Jewish existence by proving we are just like everyone else, a democracy like them, a tech hub even better than them, a nation that needs land for security reasons. But if we are only like them, then the question will always return. Why here? Why this land? The Jewish claim for the land of Israel is not merely historical or political, it is biblical. The land is ours because the Creator of the world entrusted it to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When Jewish life disconnects from the Torah, it weakens the very title deed that makes our claim unshakable. When we are embarrassed by our heritage, the world becomes comfortable questioning our legitimacy. But when Israel lives openly as a Jewish state, rooted in eternal values, something shifts. Authenticity commands respect. To the distinguished non-Jewish leaders and diplomats here today, we ask how hatred grows so rapidly, how radicalization turns grievance into terror. The answer begins with education. Not only education of the mind, but education of the soul. A society that teaches children that there is no higher authority eventually loses its moral anchor. If a child believes there is no accountability beyond himself, then there's a much greater chance that violence becomes rational. Human civilization rests on a simple truth that life is sacred, that justice matters, and that we answer to something higher than power. The Torah gave humanity the 7 universal moral laws, principles of justice, dignity, and responsibility. I urge world leaders to consider something profoundly simple. Introduce a moment of silence in schools, only 1 minute at the start of each day, a moment for reflection, for purpose, for the awareness that our actions matter. And when a child who grows up knowing there is an eye that sees and an ear that hears, he usually will not grow into a terrorist. They will grow into a moral human being. This is not only how we fight anti-Semitism, this is how we save civilization from itself. Friends, I carry grief that does not fade. But grief must never become our identity. Let the legacy of those we lost be strength, not fear. Let us leave here with clarity. To my Jewish brothers and sisters, be Jewish, be proud, be visible. To the state of Israel, be the Holy Land, not only a refuge, but a holy land. To nations of the world, raise children who know they are accountable to something higher than themselves. When we live our truth without apology, darkness retreats and light wins. Mashiach is so close. It is up to us to make the world ready. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.